Hi campers, and welcome to the 8th episode of Camp Half-BloodCast. Listen to us get all the names wrong. Percy Jackson, anyone?
And listen to me get threatened by Zeus as I try to sneak some lines in about Artemis. Where we last left off, Percy came to terms with being a demigod, and for the first time, he feels at home somewhere besides New York. However, he still needs to figure out what's going on with the summer solstice business. So, where we start in this chapter, Percy is like settling into kind of a routine.
Yeah, we're going for his training.
I mean, he has ancient Greek, and he realizes he can actually kind of read that.
I wish I could. It would be so fun. And like, if my sister and I could both read that and understand it.
Zeus has a twin sister,
yeah.
by the way. For context.
Whose mother is apparently Aphrodite. So
it's a bit of a confusion. But it's
Might have
happened
been-
in mythology
yeah.
before. It's happened in mythology before.
But we could communicate in ancient Greek and no
That'd be
one will
quite
understand.
That'd be quite
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, so besides that, he's also training the more heroic kind of
Sports?
sports. I guess you can call it sports.
Like archery.
Foot
racing.
racing, which is quite fun because he actually sucks at foot racing. All the Dryads and nymphs are beating him, and they try to kind of make him feel better by telling him that they have like so many like centuries of practice of running away from lovesick gods. And I'm just like,
Hey.
you know what? You can't fault them, but he's like, it doesn't make him feel better.
I mean, just imagine being slower than a tree.
Yeah, that's literally what he says. It does not make me feel better. He's also really bad at wrestling. Clarice is like pulverizing him.
Yeah.
The only thing he's good at.
Is canoeing.
And he's like, that is not the kind of heroic talent that all of these people are expecting from me.
Yeah.
He can, however, tell that like the counselors are kind of like trying to work out what his talents are, like so they
Yeah.
can figure out who his parent is.
Yeah, I think Luke says that he might be the son of Hermes. That like
Jack of all trades, masters of
Of
none.
none.
However, producer Mel is nodding, so
yeah.
that's fine.
I said Luke. That gets me
That's very
distracted.
anti-Athena of you,
Because Luke makes me distracted.
like Annabelle.
Yeah.
Spoiler. Anyway, Percy thinks Luke is actually just saying this to make him feel better
He probably is though.
because he thinks like Luke is just as confused as everyone else. And like he's like been trying again to trigger this claiming. Like he is sick of the floor, guys. He is sick of being on the floor.
every dinner he asks to be claimed.
And all he feels is this warm, light glow feeling and his father's smile.
He's projecting.
And but you know what? He's actually starting to feel quite bitter. He starts to understand.
And why Luke feels that way, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, I mean, if Dionysus can make a code, like a Diet Coke can appear, why can't my dad make a phone appear?
Which is so true. If you can make anything appear out of nowhere, you would be able to like make a few minutes appear in the timeline to people.
Just call me, Dad.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Well,
Well-
I think gods might just not be great with technology.
Yeah. Well, did they not invent it? I'm like, in my head, Hermes is like on his iPhone, like constantly just scrolling.
Yeah. Although he would be the only one then. Like the other ones couldn't probably be bothered with such like.
Yeah, well, maybe that's why most of Hermes' children, I claimed. Just saying.
Yeah. Because he knows how to use a phone.
Speed dial.
There you go.
Some people have their dad on speed dial, and it's a Hermes cabin.
We figured it
Messengers.
out. We figured it out.
There's a reason Facebook has messengers. That's the app. However, maybe they're Facebook messaging. Maybe they're Facebook messaging him. Also, I would like to say something that is really ironic. I came up with. Do you ever think, Every, that used to be like Hermes? It used to be called Hermes, the delivery company.
Yes,
And
I
you know it's just knowledge, like everyone knows it's the worst delivery company. Why did they call themselves Hermes?
They also had a logo with like wings, I think.
Yeah, but I'm also like, why would you call yourself
Because-
Hermes? Because you were bad at it.
Because they were aiming to be good.
Or maybe it was Hermes all along.
Yeah, like in the films.
Yeah, okay.
Well.
Oopsie. Anyway, we continue on to sword fighting lessons. Percy is having a cabin 11 lesson.
Oh, yeah.
And Luke, now don't swoon.
I was about to.
Don't swoon too badly, but Luke is training Percy.
Yeah.
And everyone else, I mean.
Because apparently he's the best swordsman in 300 years.
And basically, because Percy is new, Luke picks him as his partner, and someone is just like, good luck. Pick me.
That would be me.
She doesn't even go here. But yeah, no, he's like, good luck. And Percy's like, what do you mean? And he's like, yeah, he's the best swordsman in 300 years. Also, how do you measure that? I don't know. But Percy's like, maybe he'll go easy on me.
Yeah, you wish.
Spoiler alert, he does not. Percy gets pounded and beat and is bruised and tired and absolutely broken. By the time that Luke calls for break,
He's just practically dying. But also, I love like how Luke just puts some ice water on his head.
Yeah,
I can see that in slow motion.
You're just wishing. You wish. But also, I would also kind of say what we forgot to mention is that Perky. Perky Jackson. I'm Mr. D. Perky. Anyway. He does mention that he is actually taking this quite naturally, like these lessons. However, like the first Luke is drilling us through, but he is struggling with his sword. He can't find anything that's balanced for him. But yeah, Luke kind of like pours ice water on himself.
And Percy obviously follows and does the same thing.
Like, he doesn't question it. He's like, that's a good idea.
I imagine them next to each other, Luke looking cool, and then Percy being like...
But also, I think it's like so cute. It's like a duckling imitating the mother duck.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, Luke does this. I'm going to do it too.
But works out for the best for Percy, though.
Percy feels energized all of a sudden. Percy feels awake.
Yeah.
And better.
And Luke does that nasty thing when he, like, not a nasty thing. He just wants to demonstrate
a disarming maneuver.
Exactly. And he...
Manure? Did I say manure? Did it sound like I was saying
No,
manure?
you said maneuver.
Producer Mel is nodding. Maneuver.
Another word to add to our list.
Basically, yeah, he wants to demonstrate a maneuver. And I can't say it without thinking of it now. But... he tells the rest of the cabin kind of like, guys, let this poor boy be. Don't laugh at him. It's very hard. I've had it done on me. It takes a long time to kind of perfect this skill. He shows Percy. It obviously works. Percy doesn't know what's happening. But they start dueling until one of them pulls this maneuver off. Yeah. And Percy is kind of struggling, but he feels energized.
Yeah, but like at some point he feels like it's about to pass in a bit.
Yeah,
but that's when he manages.
I mean, I will say he tries to get a jab in, which he knows is a bad, like he can't do it. But he like notes that he sees Luke like react to this sign of offense and like he narrows and he does like he pounds him even harder, like he fights him even harder, where I'm like, Luke, what's going on? Like, calm down, as a child. Like, how old is Luke?
I think 19 or something like that. So
19?
Yeah.
Percy's 12.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why his eyes narrow, because he's like, that child is actually trying to stab me.
Also, I feel like Luke should like maybe start using "what are you 12" a lot more. Like, what are you 12 to Percy every time he says anything that's silly. But anyway, Percy thinks, what the heck?
Yeah.
And he manages to pull the move off, and he disarms Luke. And the sword kind of clatters to the ground. And he says, "There's just silence."
Yeah.
Silence.
Yeah.
Kind of as Luke is flabbergasted. The campers are flabbergasted. And then Percy finds himself apologizing, which I
Yeah.
am so like. I love that he goes, "I'm sorry."
But Luke goes like, oh no, don't apologize. Show me that again.
Like Luke literally starts,
That's
laughing.
very cheeky,
He starts
though.
laughing. He goes, "Why are you apologizing?"
But he obviously knows, he sees that the energy kind of wore off, and he's like, show me that again.
I
feel like
disagree. I
it's very
disagree.
cheeky.
I feel like for me, it's kind of like Luke doesn't mind being bested as long as the person will make him better. Like, will show him so he won't make the same mistake again.
I think so too. But then again, Percy's 12.
Yeah, I mean, this is so deep, but this is what then he fails. And then one of
Yeah.
the campers is like, beginner's luck. And Luke is like, I wonder what he can do with a sword that's actually balanced. Like, he
Yeah.
is, like, Percy is kind of like saying that he appraised him with a new interest.
Yeah. Luke is definitely now a bit more interested in Percy as a person.
But then we leave the sword fighting behind and we reunite with Grover.
A best friend.
Hello, Grover.
Yeah, Percy is, I guess, making conversation and trying to see, like, ask if his career is still on track.
Because as you remember last time we saw Grover, Mr. D
Yeah.
pulled him aside for a conversation. Grover looks sick at the idea of the conversation, but he, as Grover always does, tries to put on a brave face and go, "It went fine."
Yeah, he's not fooling anyone.
What he says, "I'm fine." What he really means is, actually, my career is down the drain because you have to get a quest. But actually, Grover asks Percy if he learned about his searcher's license, and Percy's like, "I have no idea what that means."
Yeah.
Chiron just said that you have big dreams.
Yeah.
But basically, what the result of his conversation is that Mr. D has said that Grover neither succeeded or failed, so the judgment has been postponed
Until he goes on a quest with Percy and he actually manages to return him to safety to some extent.
Like, both of them need to be alive by the
Yeah.
end of this quest, but that won't happen because A, quests are banned,
Yeah.
and 2, he's like, why would Percy ever bring me along?
But Percy says that he would.
Percy's like,
Such a best friend moment.
of course I would. And like, and he tries to kind of make Grover feel better and say he has talents, but Grover is just not having it.
Yeah.
However, he finally gets to the point where he asks about the empty cabins,
Yeah.
which, as you might remember, Percy has tried to enter at several points. And you're like, why can't I go in there?
He was just trying to take a peek.
Or like, just, have somewhere that's not the floor.
Yeah.
Like somewhere to sleep that's
can't
not the
blame
floor.
him. Can't blame him.
Oh, that was the sound.
Yeah.
Basically,
So basically there's a few empty cabins.
so Grover says the silver one over there, which you might remember that I nearly forgot to mention last chapter, is Artemis's. And Artemis is a virgin goddess. So he was like, she don't have no children. However, she would be severely offended if we did not give her a cabin.
And another cabin that's empty.
I will also say, as a twin, we have a direct source here. If your sister got a cabin and you didn't, how would you feel? Exactly.
You can't do that thing.
It's a real life demonstration of twins.
Like, we have the same birthday. Give us separate cabins.
So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so that was one of the empty cabins,
Yeah.
Artemis's.
And another one is Hera's, because she's obviously the goddess of marriage. So if she would have children that are not Zeus's, then that would be a bit awkward.
Hera is the wife of Zeus.
Yeah.
I don't know if we ever recapped that.
I think we've mentioned that before.
But anyway, you wouldn't be able to tell. He has a lot of...
Yeah. He doesn't care. And his wife is the goddess of marriage, which is so ironic.
And then we have Poseidon, who has another cabin that's empty. And then Percy is kind of like, oh, so is Hera, Poseidon, and Zeus these big three that I constantly hear about? And Grover's like, no, Hera is not a big three. The big three is Hades, Zeus, and Poseidon.
Which we've mentioned before, I think in episode 1 even.
Episode 1.
The three brothers, Hades rules the underworld, Zeus rules the sky, and Poseidon rules the sea.
Exactly. And he says, and then Percy is like, but Hades don't have a cabin. And then Grover is like, He doesn't even have a seat in in Olympus. Like, we don't want that. And you don't want to know why we don't want that. And I'm like, how do you know if it's never happened, Grover? Like, get real. Like, why are you prejudiced from you, of all people?
Because he doesn't like the underworld.
Yeah, well, has he ever been? Has he ever been?
He doesn't like underground.
Has he ever been?
Probably
has he
in
ever
New
tried?
York.
Has he ever tried?
Underground New York.
Maybe. But basically, Percy's like, but they had so many kids.
Yeah.
Why are their cabins empty? And then
Grover kind of talks about this oath that they made after World War II.
Because World War II was all of their kids fighting amongst each other.
Zeus and Poseidon on one side and Hades on the other side.
And basically, after that, they all decided that their kids were too powerful and they could change.
I mean, all decided it was Zeus and Poseidon who made Hades promise.
Yeah, well, they made Hades promise, actually. They were like, But basically, they were like, they can change too many world events. We have to stop. So they swore on the river Styx, which, as Percy says, is the gravest oath you can make. It's the most serious oath you can make.
Yes.
Do you think any one of them followed? Who do you think was the first one to fall off the wagon? If your answer was Zeus.
You're right.
You. Ding, 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 ding. Again.
Let us know if you guessed.
Basically, Zeus had a child.
Called Thalia.
Thalia. And basically, what Grover says, we return to the whole men not being punished. Zeus escaped the wrath of River Styx. However, Thalia...
Also, like, he can't die. Like, he's a god, obviously. Like, nothing back can happen.
But can they curse him? Like, can he have, like, hemorrhoids or something? Like,
I think it's
a sit that never goes away?
He can change bodies. Like, gods can actually take it on anybody.
A sit that never goes away.
Yeah, maybe.
A rainstorm over his head forever.
He would be a great goddess.
Thanks. I have a lot of ideas. Basically, he's like, Zeus escaped the wrath of River Styx, but Thalia did not. Hades was also super angry about being tricked into making this pact. And then Zeus fell off the wagon almost, like, I guess, 30 years later.
I don't even know.
He says, like, or maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, approximately, because like he said 60 years ago, that's a war.
Yeah.
And then 17 years ago, he had a child.
Yeah.
So yeah, like approximately,
more or less,
like a bit, 34 years, I guess. I don't know. Can't do math.
But basically...
43.
Well, Grover...
No, but yeah.
Basically what Grover says is that Thalia was traveling to the camp with two other demigods.
And a satyr.
Yeah, and a satyr.
Satyr. But basically, Hades had released all the worst monsters from Tartarus, which is, again, the greatest pit of hell in the underworld. Had, like, literally all the free furies. We have hellhounds, everything after her. Like, her life was miserable. They reached the borders of the camp.
Yeah.
And she tells the satyr to take the other two kids because she does not want to be, like, she don't want to live like a hunted prey.
Yeah.
Like a hunted animal, actually. I wrote down in caps here. She don't want to, so she takes her last stand on the Half-Blood Hill, as it's now called.
Yeah.
And Zeus pities her and turns her into the infamous pine tree we constantly hear about.
Yeah. How good of a father he was.
You love that. Oh, I can't help you with the monsters. You're a tree now.
You're dying. Let me turn you into a tree.
So, then Grover mentions that, hey, this is why we actually call it Half-Blood Hill.
Yeah.
Because Thalia took her last stand there, and her spirit protects the border. That's why the monsters are not coming in. The tree, like, that is the blessing Zeus gave.
Yeah. And Percy was like feeling a little bit bad about himself because like the only monster he thought of was Minotaur, and he's like, oh, maybe I should have done more.
And he failed because he's like, could my mother have been saved if I had been better?
You're 12, Percy. Come
Percy,
on.
you're a baby. What he then does, he turns the conversation to the underworld and says, hey, Grover, has anyone ever gone to the underworld? And he says, yes.
Grover is because like he said, no one ever brought anyone back. People did go, but no one brought anyone back. And he mentions Orpheus Heracles, sorry.
Bum, 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 bum.
Heracles and Houdini.
Which is fun because, again, Houdini was known for cheating death.
Yeah.
So that's quite a fun
But
little...
he's a cheeky little liar because basically
liar,
Heracles actually did bring Cerberus, who is literally a god in the underworld. He brought him back from the underworld, but also like the person who told him to bring him back for some reason wanted to send him back down. So for me, it counts. Like Cerberus obviously didn't stay
But
on
he
the
went
earth,
back.
but he did. He did manage to take him
Yeah.
back.
And obviously, Orpheus
Grover.
almost tried. So Grover is a liar. Then again, Grover is kind of sensing. He's kind of sensing. Why you're asking? And Percy tries to steer clear of that kind of conversation because obviously Percy is asking because he wants to save his mom. And he asks if satyrs are always picking up demigods.
Yeah.
And Grover is like, yeah, if you sense something, you potentially finger the big three, or like a strong energy, you go. And then Percy, and then no.
Yeah.
I got it wrong. You go to sniff out demigods, and you warn Chiron if you think you found someone extremely special, big three material. And Percy's like, you told Chiron about me.
And then Grover's like, well, they're probably just like a child of
Hermes
or
Nemesis. But I have lots of questions about that.
I think
Nemesis is a woman, right?
Yeah, but I think a lesbian relationship with a god can yield you a child. So
I didn't Apollo confirm male pregnancies at one point.
yeah. I mean, yeah, you could be with Apollo and be like, I don't want to get pregnant. Do you want to carry the child? And he would probably be like, okay.
I love Apollo.
Do you want to have... No.
I always have an excuse. We have a lot of Oedipus complex. Oedipus? How do you say it?
Oedipus.
Oedipus. We have a lot of Oedipus complexes in this place.
Yeah, we
because
do.
earlier Zeus did say I would have an affair with Athena, and I was like, are you sure about
I
that?
forgot she's my mum.
It's fine. Anyway, we move on to the best, well, not the best, but the most exciting detail of the week in Camp Half-Blood.
Yay.
Capture the flag. Percy is finally finding out what the hell that's about. I would like to first say that I've forgotten it's in the dark. In my brain, it's in the daylight. And it's probably because in the movie and the show, it's in the daylight. But in my brain, it was still in the light.
Same.
But it's actually fought at night in the woods, and I think that's terrifying.
Yeah. If you watch the film, it's literally midday.
I know. So, what we first learn is
Sorry, I'm just going to comment on that. I think it's just easier to film that, in daylight.
Yeah, obviously.
Because
obviously.
that was
obviously. And also, it's super irresponsible to let a lot of kids run around in the woods after dark, and they're monsters.
I mean, the demigods, they're either way gonna die really young, so might as well.
Spoiler alert. So what we start with are the teams. We have the Eris cabin and the Athena cabin dragging out the flags. Percy notes that are they always their flags since it's their symbols on it? So I think Athena is like an owl, and then Eris is like a not the pig. What do they call? Boar.
Boar, yeah.
Boar with a spear.
But yeah, basically, Luke says that they tend to lead
the wind, and that's because Ares is a god of war and Athena is a goddess of warfare / strategy. So obviously they kind of have
and then they make alliances with other cabins. And now Athena made an alliance with
temporary alliance. Luke states a temporary alliance with Apollo and Hermes.
Yeah.
Which they do by kind of swapping whatever privileges they have. Maybe the Athena cabin will clean the bathroom an extra time this week.
You're really obsessed with cleaning the bathroom, huh?
It's the only thing. I don't know. I've never been to camp. I don't know what you do there.
I don't think
Shower
I've cleaned bathrooms at camps that I went to.
Yeah, whatever. You were not a counselor, were you?
Counselors wouldn't clean bathrooms.
Who would clean them then?
The kids.
Yes. Okay. Well. Anyway, what we do find out, however, is like besides Hermes being the biggest cabin, Apollo has the biggest cabin, and I would just like to talk about that. I love that. First of all, he clearly is claiming all his children. He is a slut, and he is proud about it. He's proud of it. He's proud of it. He's a slut, and he's proud of it.
Yeah. Yay,
Like-
Hermes. Oh, sorry. Apollo. Yay, Apollo.
No slut shaming in this place, but I wanted to circle back to the last episode where I almost said something and then I didn't want to say it. We hear that the Hermes table is full and they can barely fit. What about the Apollo cabin? Like, are they just chilling? Like, they're the biggest cabin then.
Maybe. I don't know.
sit on
They
the
have a bigger
tables?
table.
Maybe
Because,
some of them are eating in the amphitheater. Maybe they're like,
Yeah.
I don't have time for eating. I have music to make.
Maybe.
Music to make.
Or they sit on each other's lap or something.
Sweet children. But basically, what then happens is Percy is like, so if someone else wins, are we just going to paint the flag? And then Luke says, first, we have to win it. And tonight, you're going to help us with that. And he says it with a sly grin. And Percy notes that for a moment in the torchlight, the scar on his cheek makes him look evil. And you're kind of like, what's that about? Like, I'm like, also, that sly smirk, I wouldn't trust it from a Hermes child. We've already stated that they are mischievous.
Yeah, definitely.
So we move on to the rules. No maiming, no killing.
Reassuring.
Very reassuring. Luke kind of armors Percy and then tells him he is border control. And then Percy gets picked up by Annabeth.
Yeah.
Who tells him that...
Like, she places him around the creek and she kind of makes him stay there.
Yeah, and also Chiron has, by the way, told him the rules that magical items are allowed.
Ah, yes.
And he looks at Annabeth and he says, do you have any magical items I can borrow?
That's actually one of my character highlights. Like, she's like... I'll mention it later. Or shall we mention it later?
We shall move on. Basically, Annabeth just tells him, he says, any advice? And she says, just steer clear of Clarice's spear. Well, just steer clear of Clarice's spear. That's like a tongue twister in itself. And Percy doesn't really understand what that means. Anyway, he's left by the creek.
And, he's like...
No, keep going.
Yeah, no, basically I want to say he at first he's like, oh, I'm going to miss all the fun.
Yeah, he sees an Apollo kid race past him and jump into the woods, and he's like, damn it. But then he hears some growling.
But it quickly passes.
And I have something left. Like, it's fun. No, I have something that's fun. It's like he stands there again on his own, doing nothing, and he feels really stupid. And then he says, there was no way anybody would actually attack me, would they? I mean, Olympus had to have liability issues, right?
As if.
Also, to circle back quick to like, oh, we forgot to say, the Eris cabin has everyone else, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Every other cabin. He says, like, the Dionysus twins is like...
quite athletic,
but there was two of them. Demeter's kids were like woodsy and naturey, so they were actually a threat. But the Aphrodite kids, he was like...
Yeah,
they sit on their phones.
Yeah, and then Hephaestus as well.
And
he's got like 4 children.
4. I actually, in my mind, I felt like he had 12, but I know. Anyway, what he then says, then there's the Eris cabin, which has a dozen of the biggest, ugliest, and meanest kids on Long Island or anywhere else on the planet.
As I said in the previous episodes, we're in Percy's brain, so we get it without any filter.
I mean, whatever. But you know how he thought that he wasn't going to get attacked? He gets attacked.
Surprise.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Also, I would say, Annabeth, she leaves him with, like, Athena always has a plan, and then she just leaves him.
Yeah.
But he gets attacked.
By Clarice.
And her friends.
Yeah.
And they say... he says the flag. Basically, Percy is actually very shit at his job. He's like, the flag's over there.
Yeah, but that's when they started beating him up already, and he wanted it to sound actually sarcastic.
Oh, wait. He actually... Yeah, you're right. Wait. He gets hit by Clarice's spear. And it's electric.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So his arm goes numb, and he's like, the flag is there.
The flag is there, by the way. That's what he wanted to sound like, but he sounded like...
The flag is there. And then... they're like, yeah, but we don't care about the flag. We care about that one guy that made our cabin look stupid. And then Percy, who is ever the genius like when he's facing threats, you do that without my help.
Yeah, he
Burn.
doesn't know when to stop.
Burn. Basically gets beat with the other spear. Like, I think he gets like literally hit on the chest. And like he can feel his teeth are rattling.
There's basically a little fighting going on, and he's actually wounded.
Someone cuts him on the arm, and he feels sick by seeing his own blood.
But then they push him into the creek, and that's when, again, magically, he gets this energy out of nowhere. And he actually manages to defeat Clarice and I think cut her spear in half.
Yeah, but he beats 5 of them.
Yeah,
he beats all 5 of them with his sword. That's unbalanced, by the way. But he just beats them up. And he snaps her spear in half. And she says one of my new favorite, what's the word for it? Favorite insults. Insults. Ah! She screamed, "You idiot! You corpse breath worm!"
She's not the cleverest one of the bunch.
She probably would have said worse, he says. But he smacked her between the eyes.
But yeah, basically that's also when we learn that actually his team won. We see,
they come running through the woods, and Clarice
is carrying the flag.
Luke is winning. Yeah. Hermes cabin represent.
Course.
But Clarice realizes this has all been
a setup.
It's a trick. Percy has been bait all along, and Luke obviously knew this. This is why he was smiling slyly at Percy,
because he planned it with who?
Annabeth, who appears out of nowhere. You want to see a trick?
Yeah. Show me the trick. Leia? What? What? Where are you? What the fuck? Mel? Where is she?
I don't know, man. What the fuck? Did she just...
Yeah.
Oh.
That's just about what she did. Because I'm visible. It's
I know. If you put it the other way around, it doesn't have that power, does it?
Cool? Producer Mel, do I look cool?
Yeah, man.
Thanks.
Wow.
Basically, Percy is quite angry at this point. He's like,
yeah,
you know what? You guys set me up. And then Annabeth just goes, Athena always has a plan. Thank you, Annabeth, for nothing.
Hey, they won, so...
But basically, Annabeth is like, I was going to help you. I was about to help you, but you got it covered. And then Percy was like, they were pulverizing me.
Yeah, I'm wounded.
And she says, what's that? Yeah, she says, what happened to your arm? And he's like, well, obviously I was cut. And she's like, no, look at your arm.
Yeah.
And Percy has healed himself.
And that's actually when we hear the growling again. Mm-hmm. And it's not my song.
No. Oh my God. No, wait. No, wait. She says, Percy, step out of the creek.
Oh, yeah.
She looks at him and she sees he's standing in the water. And she's like, Percy, get out of the creek. Minor production question. Like I'm pausing it here for 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. Your computer is about to die.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Can we?
Sorry, I know we can cut this out.
Yeah, we can. It's on the other side.
I will sit like I've been doing this whole time.
It's on the other side.
Oh, okay. Can you move it with the pillows?
Yeah.
Sorry, Mel. Sorry.
It's gonna be off, you know.
I mean, either way, like I'm not looking at that.
No, I know. I can see it. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
We'll
Sorry. Thank you, Mel.
Thank you. That's fine. I didn't even see that. Yeah, cool.
Basically, Annabeth is like, look, you've healed yourself. Or like, she's like, no, wait, that's not what she says. She says, get out of the creek. And he steps out and he is bone tired. His arms are numb again. And Annabeth starts panicking. Annabeth is like, oh no, I thought it would have been Zeus. And she's like, this is not good. This is not good. And Percy doesn't understand what's happening.
Yeah.
And
that's when we hear the growling.
And a howl.
Yes. And I think Chiron shouts like, arm yourselves or something like that.
Stand ready, my bow.
Yeah.
Who's he getting to pick up with, like, my bow? Who's bringing him his bow?
Dionysus. No.
But Dionysus
No.
with bow.
Axio bow.
But a huge black hound the size of a rhino with lava red eyes appears on a rock. And
Attacks Percy.
well, Annabeth actually first, I would like
Sorry.
This is one of my favorite moments is when Annabeth goes, everyone is frozen and Annabeth turns to him and goes, Percy, run! And she turns to get in the way, like she tries to step in front of him, but the hound gets him.
Yeah. And slashes him and whatever. But then Chiron kills it.
Chiron
So it's all good.
says,
Um,
and
and yeah, Percy is basically wounded.
and basically he is kind of struggling, and then Annabeth is like, that's a hellhound. That is from the fields of punishment.
And someone had to summon it.
They're not supposed to, she says. And then we get Luke, which is again another like absolute amazing moment, is Luke coming, his banner and glory all long gone. And I just like to note that this is like, for me, I'm like, oh, he really wanted to win, and then his glory is overshadowed.
He doesn't get a break, does he?
I think we also forgot to mention that the flag actually turns into the silver color of Hermes and the Caduceus, which is like a staff with two snakes, which is the symbol of Hermes.
And also hospitals.
Yes.
Medicine, just in general.
Which is confusing, but whatever.
He's a god of medicine, though.
No, he's not.
He is.
Is
he?
he?
He is.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's because
He's a god of so many
is
things.
healing, and he is medicine. But then Apollo's son is a god of medicine as well. Eclapius or whatever his name is.
I think that like, minor gods tend to have certain like specialities, but then also the major gods sometimes.
That's fine.
It's like with Ares and Athena and war.
Yeah,
like,
that's okay.
There's probably small
I
differences.
mean, it's okay. But
she knows I'm right.
Yeah, I know. No, she is right. I've just forgotten this. It's fine. Anyway, then if Luke's glory is gone, and then Clarice goes, it's all Percy's fault. Percy summoned it. When the fuck would he have time? Oh. Bad word. When the gods would he have time to do that?
Yeah.
And then also I would
Like,
like to...
why would he do that, though?
Yeah. If anyone's watched Dairy Girls, just
Go
so you
for it.
know... You know, that's that scene with, I forgot what her name is, but she goes, it was Michelle. It was all Michelle. I had nothing to do with it. And I'm just reading this as, it was all Percy. It's Percy. I had nothing to do with it. And I read that all the time.
I have no clue what she's talking about, but please do let us know if you do.
And then Chiron just goes, be quiet. Silence. Oh, no, he says be quiet. But basically, they try to work out what's going on. And Percy's like, I'm wounded. And then Annabeth is like, step in the creek, and she says, watch this, Chiron. And Percy steps in, and he feels better again immediately, and his wounds are like healing, and Camper's like gasping, and his reaction is just like, I'm sorry, I don't know, I'm not doing this, like. And then everyone is kind of like freezing, and they start kneeling to him, and we find out who Percy's parent is.
Yeah.
Any guesses? Like last?
Any guesses? Water sports, being energized by water. Anyone?
Canoeing? Canoeing, conch shell?
It's like, Rick, you couldn't have given us more clues. At
Lord
this
of the
point.
Plumbing? Basically, we hear, it is determined. My father, asks Percy. Poseidon, Earthshaker, Stormbringer, father of horses, hail Perseus Jackson, son of the sea god.
Who would have thought?
Not me.
Annabeth.
I also
No,
love that she's
not
just like,
Annabeth.
this is not good. Guys,
Yeah.
these news are terrible.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But yeah, like, what can Luke do against the child of Poseidon in this case? Like, his glory is gone. There's no memory of it.
Yeah, I just want to flag
Yeah.
that my favorite moments
Uh-huh.
in this chapter, and I have it just here, is look.
Of course. I would like to know, like, we have like a few highlights. And like, I really love that Percy just would choose Grover over everyone for his quest. And then also like that hollow feeling he feels at Thalia.
Yeah.
Poor boy. I feel like, another thing for Percy is that I really like love that he's like, let's all watch Percy get pounded when they have the sword fighting. He just knows they're all gonna beat him up. and apologizing for winning, apologizing for healing himself. Like, he's just so scared of being like a freak.
Yeah. That's very British though. He apologizes for everything. He's not British.
I
But
think
that's
it's
very
more
British.
like he's so insecure that he's finally feeling at home, and then now every time he does something weird, he's like, "No, I'm not weird. I'm not weird."
Yeah.
I also just love that he is like, tries to get claimed, like, and he's just son of Poseidon.
Yeah.
That's what I've written. Son of Poseidon. That is my favorite moment for Percy.
Again, any moments, including Luke.
I know. But I mean, for Luke, I would say, like, I love that he's telling his cabin not to laugh at him. How serious he's being, I'm not sure. Because he could also just be saying that to look good. Like, to pretend, like, oh, I'm a counselor, don't laugh at him. But in reality, he's like, laugh away.
But that also is going to make him a debate.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, he's 12. Again, guys, he's 12. How old is Clarice? I don't even know.
No, I don't know.
But she has beef with the 12-year-old. That is also like deep issues on her behalf. But I also love that Luke, like, that little point of like when Percy starts fighting back, Luke fights back harder. And again, this is a 12-year-old. You're fighting with a 12-year-old. Like, I need everyone here to get a grip.
Yeah, but you're not going to let him win just,
No,
because
for
he's
sure.
young.
I also have, for Luke, very much that he gets the glory. He wins this, he brings like honor to his cabin, and then it is overshadowed.
And that's what you get for being only a Hermes child. So.
I know. I also will say I'm very disturbed about Percy's inner monologue. Like, what do you mean he looks evil in the torchlight? Also, it's just a scar. Like, Percy, stop judging people on their appearances.
I know.
Then I would also like to note on Annabeth. First of all, Annabeth, ice cold. She is ice cold in the face of tragedy. I know. I love that she is. There is no she's not thinking with her feelings anyway. She is thinking with a cold, logical mind and ruthless, absolute ruthless. I also personally really love when she steps in front of the Hellhound to protect Percy, even if she doesn't really know him. You have that other moment.
Yes, when they mention, like, when Percy mentions a magical object, and she's like suddenly like touching her pocket as if something was stolen from her, and she obviously means her cap.
Because you don't want to lose that kind of item that can make you
well.
invisible, for sure. I also just want to touch quick on Grover, who kind of just like states that we wouldn't like a Hades cabin, like as if he has ever known what that would be like, because he hasn't,
Yeah.
But I've also note that Grover's just kind of thinks like Percy doesn't like his parents as someone a nobody. Like, he tries to convince everyone it's Nemesis or Hermes. I'm like, be so for real, my man. Like, be so for real. But that's all I have, actually.
Yeah.
Like, characters.
I mean, I think we're ready to talk about some myths. Okay, do you want to mention Artemis?
I do. Guys, I have breadcrumbs. I have only breadcrumbs in this book, and I don't think I will get a mention in the next one. I have a book and a half to go. Sue's tried to get me to delete this. I have messages that says, you can scrap Artemis. And I said, no.
I'm the one editing, so it's in my hands.
I said, no, we cannot. We cannot scrap her. Artemis is goddess of the hunt and the moon. And again, I think it is explained last episode that this is why her cabin is silver. And it is the contrast to Apollo, who is her twin. Wait, I explained this in this episode. Yeah. Guys, I explained it in this episode. But so Artemis is a twin of Apollo, and she has a cabin. That's it. See, I told you it'd be fast.
Okay.
I told her.
Okay.
I told you I would not give anything away.
Sure. Let's pretend I trust you.
Okay. So you got the trials of the underworld.
Yes, so basically, Grover mentions Orpheus and Heracles going to the underworld. Let me just tell you quickly about Orpheus. He's son of Muse, probably Calliope. He's a patron of epic poetry. And a king of Threes called Agros.
Probably.
It's written down there. If I'm not saying it right, I'm sorry. So basically, in all the versions, he's a son of Apollo.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
both of them make sense.
Apollo gave him his first lyre, who we learned he got it first from Hermes, and that's how they made friends, so to speak.
I love.
Yeah.
This lyre is just like the brotherhood of a traveling lyre.
But yeah, he's basically known for beautiful playing and singing. And he joined an expedition of the Argonauts, which we'll learn more about later in the books, and saved them from sirens by playing, which is quite interesting. But basically, on return from that trip, he married Eurydice, who was Eurydice.
For the first time, I'm the one.
I'm gonna cut it.
Crazy.
So she was killed by a snake bite, basically, and he went down to Hades to bring her back, and he managed to charm Charon, Cerberus, Hades, Persephone, everyone to get her out, and he couldn't last 5 more minutes to get out because at the sight of sunlight, he wanted to share with her. Oh look, we're almost there. Oh yeah. Forgetting the rule. Sorry. So he was not meant to look back. Yeah, that's quite important, isn't it?
Just like Orpheus, you got ahead of yourself.
I did.
I was about to say, wow, I love when like life does this.
Yeah.
When life imitates art.
I did it on purpose. Athena always has a plan. But yeah, basically, so the rule was they can't look back. At the sight of sun, he wanted to be like, look, and that's when she disappeared. And he basically. He was devastated, obviously, mourned her, and was killed by the woman of Threes, who basically, the motive of why he was killed by them vary. But my favourite one is that there were Dionysus worshippers, basically, that tore him to pieces during one of their Bacchic orgies.
Dionysus?
Yeah.
Never. He could never do this. Never.
Of course he did, because he was jealous of Apollo.
Never.
Of Orpheus worshipping Apollo over Dionysus. You need to be careful which gods you worship, basically. But yeah, apparently his head, still singing, floated to Lesbos. Were the first, when his oracle of Orpheus was established. And we know what our oracles are already because we discussed it.
And we know who rules them.
Yeah. And I do assume that you know a lot about Heracles, but I'm just going to recap quickly. He's the son of Zeus and Alcmene, and we mentioned him killing snakes with baby hands. He had superhuman strength, married Megara, Theban princess, and Hera afflicted her with madness, and afflicted him with madness, so he killed his wife. And Hera is the goddess of marriage, so that's quite funny.
Not quite the Disney tale now, is it?
Yeah. He had to atone for his crimes by doing labours for Eurystheus, and his last labour was basically going to underworld and bringing back Cerberus, which I mentioned. He did manage to do that. But then Eurystheus asked him to put him back in the underworld, basically. And that was his last labour out of the 12 labours that he was meant to do to atone for his crime.
I want to touch a bit on the nymphs and the gods, because as you remember, we heard that the nymphs have centuries of experience running from gods. Yeah. The first I want to touch on is Daphne. Daphne is quite famously Apollo's first love, and he has like 2 true loves in mythology, and it's Daphne and Hyacinthus. So there's different variations of this. The first one is Apollo bragged to Eros, who is Cupid, that he was better like at the bow, or his bow was nicer than Eros's. And Eros, as revenge, shot Daphne, who was a virgin nymph, or like a nymph anyway. He shot her with a golden love arrow. No, I'm lying. He shot Apollo with a golden love arrow. And basically what it did was that the first person he looked at, he would fall in love with them. And then he shot Daphne with a lead tip arrow, which made her indifferent to love. So Apollo saw her, fell in love, and she fled him. And she was running while he was chasing him, he chased her, and she begged for her father, who was a river god, Peneus, to save her, and he turned her into a laurel tree. That is the first one. The second version is that she was just a sworn virgin nymph, and Apollo just chased her, and she again, they are losing it. Guys, it's fine. Basically, she still got turned into a laurel tree, but that was because she was just a sworn virgin. But basically, if you see any sculptures of Apollo, he will always have a laurel wreath in his hair to represent his love for Daphne. Then we have Minthy, or Mint. I don't know what it is. Minthy, Mintha.
Again, spelling down there.
Hades kind of made her his concubine, and Persephone was rightfully jealous. Also, I would be too if the king of the underworld has stolen me and then tried to have affairs. So she turned her into a mint plant. And we got Aegina. Zeus turned into an eagle and kidnapped her. And then we got Callisto, which is my second Artemis mention, and probably the most Artemis mentions I will get for a long time. Basically, she was a follower of Artemis, and Zeus seduced her. And there's different variations. Either he turned into Artemis, or he turned into Apollo, or he just raped himself. No, not raped himself. Guys, we've reached the end of the day here.
Catholic Church speaking.
Or he just raped her. Sorry, I'm wearing my silly cap. He just raped her. But I have a lot of questions about if you're a follower of Artemis, you have sworn of love. So I don't understand why he would seduce her via Artemis. It just feels like, why use Artemis?
Because then you get the goddess that you sworn to allows it.
Creating
more like
unhealthy power imbalances.
Yeah.
Anyway, she falls pregnant. Artemis is upset, and it's again various whether it's Artemis or Hera who gets so angry that they turn her. But it could be Artemis too. I mean, it's a pretty solid oath. She turns her into a bear, and the Callisto does give birth to a human child. And then it also varies whether it's Artemis or the child that kills the bear when they come across it. And then Zeus kind of feels bad about everything that he's done, so he turns her into a constellation in the sky, and it's Ursa Major, which is the big bear. And then we have Eurydice as the last one, which Zeus have already mentioned. So she was bit by a snake in all variations of this. It always dies by snake bite, but whether she was chased by someone who wanted to rape her, or if she was just happy to be in the world, she got bit by a snake, was held by Hades and Persephone. That was my myths. Sorry.
Yeah.
It took us a long way to get there.
It did, indeed.
Silly cap.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically we mentioned also Ares and Athena, which obviously Ares is a god of war, and Athena is a god of strategy, which is kind of warfare as well.
I've just got hellhounds as the last thing, and for me anyway, and that's god dogs for the underworld.
That's very cute. And Poseidon, obviously, the god of the sea, and we'll get so much more on him later that I'm not going to say
Love
anything.
you, Poseidon.
Yeah. I mean, just to wrap up, I have a quote.
Oh, you do?
I do. That
What's
defines
your
the
quote?
chapter, and you actually said it. You actually quoted it.
Is it the Poseidon one?
No. I wonder what Percy could do with a balanced sword.
Oh,
Because that sums up the chapter.
yeah, I guess it does. Mine is Earthshaker, Stonebreaker, father of the horses. Hail Perseus Jackson, son of the god, sea god.
You almost got that.
Yeah, I know. I almost
Yeah.
got it. I already got it once. Anyway, no, that for me defines it. We have finally had our hero claimed.
Yeah,
by his
we did.
father. I think I need to go check on his cabin, though. I think Percy is a very messy person, and he needs help from the Apollo cabin to
He's a
stay in line.
very messy Perky Jackson.
Yeah, Perky. I got that from Mr. D. I overheard Mr. D.
Yeah. No, you go. I'm gonna strategize for the next capture the flag.